I can show you guys how I would approach my criticism, and that could help you guys to be a little more sensitive when you criticize.
All right. Oh my gosh.
So, that's not the right one, but here you go. So this is a red one. You have to tell me what size of shirts you guys are.
Uh-oh. What the heck?
What does it say? What does it
Why
say?
do you have this? It says John DeLynn is a child of God.
John,
Can you see it?
is a child of God. There it is. I just noticed that there is a strong likeness between John DeLynn and Che Guevara. So this is yours, dude. Just unjerkify us.
Okay.
Insofar as you can.
I felt like I was dumb for believing. Right.
That's what they want you to feel.
Anti-Mormon, Progma, which is pretty much anti-Mormon light, you know.
Oh my god.
And then there's like nothing in the middle until apologist.
But when you say things like that, you're playing into their hands.
Well, you're right. The intellectual opposition to the church is only 5 middle-aged men on the Wasatch Front.
Yeah, it's not that big of a group. Like,
yeah, and have you ever called out Jeremy Runnels for his crazy terrorist manifestos on us?
That's fair.
You know, it's like, a big problem I have with these sensitivity people.
So one-sided. It's only ever us.
It's always sensitivity. Like, are you calling out John DeLynn for doxing his own sister? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Midnight Mormons. I am your host, and today we are joined in the studio by Kwaku L, Brad Whitbeck, and Leo Winiger. And today, Leo's going to help us out with some sensitivity training.
Yeah.
Leo, take it away.
Hey guys, what's up? I've got a little image I want to have Carden show on the screen there. Can you guys see that hopefully right now?
Yeah, go for it.
So this is a little image of Gomorrah from Neverending Story. Scariest part of any movie I think growing up that I saw. For all my 80s friends, you guys know who this is. The giant wolf that chased Atreyu through the swamp. And
Leo said that we do things wrong here. And
the reason why I'm here to
be a little bit more compassionate and has called us under repentance. So Leo, where do we go wrong?
As I tell,
no, I'm just kidding.
As I tell people not to be so aggressive with their preaching, I'm here to preach, right? So anyway, I survived the nothing. That's basically my journey in a nutshell. And I know that Carden doesn't like the word journey, but it's fine. My journey is like I survived a really difficult faith crisis. And so that image just kind of gives me a sense of like, wow, I really made it, past Gomorrah.
Do you think when you were on your journey, you had to tell yourself, don't stop believing?
Don't stop believing.
Oh, man.
Stupid joke.
The journey joke. It's okay.
80s right there. I think
that's the only reference I know.
Should we sing it?
When I see the I survived the nothing thing, I just think of Kwaku's dating life in Provo.
And
what do you mean? I go on so many dates.
I've
made out with countless women.
With how many? Well, how high of IQ?
attractive ones.
Many.
Yeah,
I'm in triple digits.
I do have to tell you, when we were on our way to the RFM debate, there was a lot of phone calls that I heard from Kwaku being like, "Hey, so like, if that one summer, like when you and me meant like anything, like, can I pull in a favor and have you come?" Like, there was like 17 chicks he called about that one summer, and I was thinking, dude, how many one summers? Did you have?
Too many.
We would do these things freshman. Whatever. Freshman year.
Back to Leo.
Let's go.
You know tunnel singing? We would all get together in the tunnel singing.
Yeah.
But they started everyone to make out.
We're in sensitivity training, not teaching how to bamboozle young BYU co-eds into thinking you're a spiritual guy just to make out with them in a 1960 tunnel.
Well, there was definitely a 90 going on.
No.
Okay, cut that out.
What on earth, Kwaku?
Cut that out.
That's not true at all. Leo just said savage. Leo just said savage. He has been birthed. He has been baptized in the waters of savage.
Yeah,
this is locker room talk.
Okay, so anyway, Leo.
Okay, so I'm here. Like I've got a whole section about being a peacekeeper, catching stones, and not throwing the stones back. But I don't know how much we want to get into that. I want to actually jump into catching a couple stones and then sharing some sincere, honest criticism. So I talked to John DeLynn this week, and I've talked to him a couple times, and I've been following John for quite a while.
Did you have to perform a seance to summon the devil? How did you talk to him? Oh
my God. So I got you guys a little present. I'm gonna pull these out now. We're ready.
Oh,
for this.
I'm excited. What is this?
So okay. So
are we about to get shot on our own podcast?
No. This is clothing.
All right,
oh my gosh.
So,
is it?
That's not the right one, but here you go. So this is a red one. You have to tell me what size of shirts you guys are.
What the heck?
What does it say? What does it
Why do
say?
you have this? It says John DeLynn is a child of God.
John,
can you see it?
He's a child of God. There it is.
It's hard for me to like angle it because that's like reverse, but there you go. That's good.
Okay.
So I got you guys a shirt. We can wear this to show that we care.
I'm a medium.
Sensitive. There's mediums in here. So what color do you want? You guys got gray or dark blue or
I'll
red?
take the blue.
Okay.
Quicker, what do you want?
I just I'm afraid to wear it.
Are you going to wear his face on your chest?
Here's the thing. I don't want to break one of the 10 commandments. Thou should not wear false witness. And
Wear false witness.
Okay, well, also, that was actually really funny. Thou shalt not wear false witness. Here's my only problem with your shirt. Can you hold that up really fast,
yeah, sure,
Leo?
Sure, I'll hold it up again.
I just noticed that there is a strong likeness between John DeLynn and Che Guevara. And I do have to tell you, as the son of Cuban Americans, who's
oh my God,
I'm sorry, my father. Okay, actually no,
you're Polish. You're not Cuban. What are you talking about?
No, so my biological father's side fought the Nazis in Warsaw, Poland. But my biological father, after he divorced my mom, he remarried Vivian, who is a model from La Habana. She actually escaped during the 80s with her family. Her father, who is now my madrastra's father, so he's my abuelo, okay, actually was sentenced to death by Fidel Castro and Che Guevara for being an anti-communist journalist. And he barely escaped America after being imprisoned for years with just the clothing on his back. So in the same way that I have a moral resistance to wearing the image of a bloodthirsty murderer who would actually force women to watch their 8 and 13-year-old boys getting shot, fusilado at the stake. I don't know. Will we?
Look,
I like the shirt.
It says he's a child of God.
Well, here's
so
also
fine, and I believe we all
truth, right?
For us to be in good faith. For us to be in good faith and
this is
start
part
this
of your
off,
training, you guys.
Yeah.
You've got to follow the training.
For us to be in good faith and to start this off in a way where we can actually be reasonable and hope to reach some people, we need to differentiate that we're talking about two wildly different people. One is a murderous, lying psychopath that's responsible for the destruction of millions, and the other is Che Guevara. So I think...
Well, sensitivity training has started off great.
John, I'm supposed to I'm here to push back on these guys.
Okay, so give us our shirts. Fine, give us our shirts.
We'll do it. So I talked to John.
Want red or gray?
Yeah, you guys. What color?
I don't want the one that looks like a Che Guevara.
Okay.
I've got extras. So, and I've got one ready for John. And John said that, I'm not going to hold him to this, but he said that I could come on his show at some point. I'm going to be up in Utah, and we want to do a podcast. I'll tell my story there too. So
okay, so hit us up.
So I want to be. I'm open to criticism. I've been criticized quite a bit online as I've interacted with people who have left the church and people who are in the church too. I've been called an apostate. So I'm kind of in the middle. I've got a more nuanced, you could say, progressive, all those different words you guys don't like.
We got to deprogram a progma.
I definitely affirm. I affirm all the basic doctrines
I do have to
of the
say,
church.
Leo, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you got a very flattering image of John DeLynn.
He's young, yeah.
Like this is a young.
That's
John
like
DeLynn.
That's like a resurrection age John.
Yeah.
Right.
And see that right there.
And I'm looking forward to the
That's
day.
a thumbnail.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So you guys don't have to wear it now, but I want you to wear it when you go to sleep. And
Oh my gosh. That's kind of creepy, Leo.
Yeah, but
I feel like John would not appreciate that.
Knowing what he does to people when they sleep, I don't want to have that.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, knowing what? I didn't get the joke.
No, honestly, I apologize so much. I decided to fix your shirt, Leo. And now it just says John DeLynn is God. And I just want to make sure, because I want to make sure the ex-Mormon Reddit people, like, because he's their prophet.
Yeah.
John DeLynn, I love John DeLynn. I love him. He's the sexiest man in America. I love him. I wish I was Marjorie when he went home.
Oh my gosh. Why?
Wow.
I want him to.
That escalated
I'm just
quickly.
saying, I want him and I's love to thrive together. He and I have an openly loving romantic relationship.
And
Quick, you with the freak.
keep digging.
so
dog.
we're laughing, but we're laughing with you, John. Right? That's what we want to say. I mean, I'm here to say that I pray for John DeLynn. Okay.
All right, rock on.
I pray for everybody that I can that I've had contact with. I love everybody, and I want everybody to eventually fall in love with Jesus and return to live with him and be happy. And so, yeah.
So tell us your story, bro. You've had a lot of great stuff. I find you to have holy noble goals. You have an awesome Google Doc here that I got teed up. Dive right in.
Okay,
brother.
so let's watch. So like I said, I think John. I talked to him this week, and he said he's open to some honest criticism. And so I'm going to offer a little bit of honest criticism, and of course, John, I would like to hear what he thinks about this.
So is this going to be a John DeLynn show? Is that what you've turned our sensitivity training into, or what?
Yeah, I want to jump right in because we have.
This is what we normally do. Is we try to talk about something
Leo,
else.
you doing our job for
Or do
us,
you want to stick to the peacemaker stuff, the stuff at the top? That's fine.
Oh, I'm happy with both.
No,
Wherever you want to drive it, just go.
This is your show, bro.
Okay.
This is you. You're the invited guest.
So maybe I can show you guys how I would approach my criticism, and that could help you guys to be a little more sensitive when you criticize. How about that?
Okay. Oh, look at that, man.
So there's a little section from Elder Anderson's talk there. You can on the screen, which is great. There's that one line I highlighted. That's awesome. And I think
we'll read it out. Because of your background, I want to be a peacemaker / bridge builder. And then you highlighted this little saying right here that for any of those that are not listening on the radio or are watching on YouTube, it says, quote, "Cannot boundary lines exist without becoming battle lines." I like that.
Well, yeah, and those scriptures are full of battle, war-like language. Us versus them, black and white thinking, and there is quite a bit of language recently from our and examples from our current leaders. They're encouraging us to do interfaith work and work with those with no faith, and I think we can have boundary lines without having to make it all about battling and fighting.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Cool.
Warm fuzzies. Fuzzies.
On the
Keep
same
going.
page as which talk is this from?
This is Elder Anderson's talk from this last conference, Peacemakers. I'm not sure. I can't remember the title, but
yeah. No. I really liked this talk.
it was really good.
Yeah. Peacemakers being persuasive.
Mhm.
Really, really good.
Yeah. And times not to respond. There's a couple things in here that I wrote about, but we don't have to get into that. So anyway, that's kind of my I guess my goal in coming out here, and not to change you guys, because I know that there's a place for people. Like I was talking to you guys earlier today about my journey and how when I was coming back to faith, because I had the serious faith crisis, I needed to know that I was not. This is the language of the oppressor. Carden, you're in my head, man. But that's how I feel. Like
You've adopted the language of your oppressor by legitimating their false constructs.
Yes. So I'm going to use it because that's the only way I can know. I can explain it. So I felt like I was dumb for believing. Right.
That's what they want you to feel.
Yes.
I think.
And like, how can you believe there's no archaeological evidence? How can on and on? Joseph is a monster. And as I was starting to receive answers to my questions, my really difficult doubts that I was experiencing, it was just like I needed a little bit of strength, right? So Dan Peterson, he was one of the first people I interviewed with Uplift, was Dan, and for our YouTube channel, and because I really appreciated his strong approach to apologetics. Sometimes he's a little sarcastic, a little biting, and it's the Hugh Nibley
Like
style.
him already? No, I'm just
and You know, and that confidence was good. And I think that there's a place for you guys to be confident and to kind of, you know, fight back a little bit. I think there is some, it turns off a certain segment of people that, you know, maybe they feel like more distanced. The other word is othered, right?
Okay.
By
Keep adopting that language, Leo.
right. So
Yeah,
I'm here to use it because that's what I use the language that people understand. It resonates with people. I try to, and I've learned this language because it helps us to communicate, right?
So are you suggesting that, as the scriptures say, the gospel would preach to every man in his own tongue, that wokeism has become its own language and its own tongue?
Wokeism, I'm not going there.
And you are using the language of the said woke people in order to communicate? You know what I'm saying?
I think
Good job, buddy.
I think God speaks to us in the language that we understand, right? That's definitely scriptural.
I totally agree with you. Yeah.
And I think we do need to be able to use language that people can be like, oh yeah, I know what you're saying, and so there's no confusion. And so anyway, that's kind of how I know that there's room for us to kind of, you know, push back on some of the criticisms or you know, some of the arguments against the church here.
Yeah.
But I'm also very much a peacemaker, and I try to minister with what I call pastoral approach to apologetics. I'm not an apologist though, which is weird.
We're not either.
Yep.
We're not either.
We're just
I don't
random
live
dudes
myself.
with opinions.
Yeah.
But you okay? Wait, but actually, what's really interesting?
I'm a truth seeker too, like everybody else that's left the church. They focus on is seeking truth, but I'm a truth seeker too. So
I do want to dive into that really quickly and just ask you, because I always understood you as apologist because that's how you're branded. Now, am I just adopting the language of my internet oppressors? You know what I'm saying? Because I have noticed that we're not apologists. Okay. I jokingly sometimes say armchair apologists. Okay. But only to really lampoon the term apologist itself. But I've kind of noticed that it's like politically, like the second you say, I don't know about X, Y, or Z thing, Nazi.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We skip moderate, conservative, very conservative, and just go straight to white supremacist, you know? And I've noticed in the religious conversation, similar to the political conversation, it's kind of like there's anti-Mormon, progma, which is pretty much anti-Mormon light, you know?
Oh my god.
And then there's like nothing in the middle until apologist. Like there's not just normal dude with a podcast and a microphone and a couple of opinions.
But
there's not just party boy with a podcast and opinions.
But when you say things like that, you're playing into their hands because you have people who are thinking, man, I align like somewhat progressive politically, and then they think they're a progmo, which isn't what you mean when you're saying this. And then they like lump themselves into that and you play into their game.
Are you suggesting that I use hyperbole in order to create conversations and exclamation marks out of nothing?
No. You. What happens is,
look, I'm trying to be more sensitive. He's training. He's doing sensitivity training right now.
It makes them think that their side is bigger, and it makes these people feel like they're being pushed into that side.
Well, you're right. The intellectual opposition to the church is only 5 middle-aged men on the Wasatch Front with blogs.
It's not that big of a group. Like we're talking about some very specific, like anti-Mormon people a lot of the time, and it gets conflated.
Leo's sensitivity training is getting away from him right now. So let's go, Leo.
Okay, so we need to, I think, understand where people are coming from, right? As much as we can, try to see the world through their eyes. And one of the gifts that I received from going through this difficult faith crisis and reconstruction, deconstruction, and then reconstruction is I have a deeper gift of empathy. I really loved people before, like I love people in my mission and love people in my ward, but you know, after going through something so dark and heinous, feeling alone, feeling like my identity as a child of God is in question. You know, can I remain married in this church? Can I raise my kids in the church? All those really, you know, scary questions that I experienced. Like my heart goes out to people, and I can't say it enough. Like I know how hard it is to have your Mormon roots, you know, uprooted and have to separate yourself from your tribe. All this language that everyone's used to using. It's really difficult. So, you know,
what was it?
What?
Can you just summarize it, I guess? What was that? It sounds very difficult.
Yeah, no, it was horrible. It's like
what was the issue though that put all of that into question?
So yeah, I mean, my journey's my stories online. You can read it. If you just Google Leo Weiniger or Winiger, LDS Living, I've got an article there, and I've explained my story in detail. But basically what it was is I saw a video on YouTube, almost about 10 years ago now, a little more than 10 years. And it was a Manti pageant video. Women lined up with name tags of the different wives of Joseph Smith. And I grew up in the church not really hearing about that. It was like something that was new information to me, especially the number of wives. Like I'd kind of heard a little bit about, but I didn't know the detail. And so it was shocking. And I learned it from a source of, evangelical Christians who don't like the church, and they were trying to preach against the church. So that was the start of my faith crisis deconstruction phase. And that went on for a couple of years where I lost a connection with God. I didn't believe in God for about a year. It was an absence of faith. It wasn't like I was out there preaching against God, but it was like I was more agnostic atheist, I would say. And I just was dead inside spiritually. I didn't believe in anything. I was so disillusioned by what I'd learned. And so, I was going through the motions, and going to church and not really wanting to be there. It's really, really hard. It's really hard.
Well, what I guess,
because it's a commitment of time. You're supposed to show, you're supposed to pray. You're supposed to serve in a calling. Yeah. It's really hard.
So what turned it around for you then?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what brought you back? And I'm sorry to segue out of our sensitivity training.
Well, this helps you to be more sensitive to understand my story.
Dude, right? Am I sensitivity now?
Yeah, you're asking good
questions. Am I sensitivity?
Oh my gosh, you're listening to another person.
No, what is going on here? Quick, Quaku, do something crazy. Do something crazy.
I just think it's interesting that instead of
we
being
get the joke.
Dishonest, I think because Joseph Smith with his wives was very abusive.
We get the joke,
but he was only bush league compared to me.
Quick,
and the way
that joke.
Your face isn't even right in the right spot.
His mouth was like over your eyebrows. It looked like a bad 1980s ghost costume, but it was working, and we understood it, and it was genius.
No,
we're asking. Hold on.
So my story.
What turned you around?
So what happened?
Yeah, what turned you around? And then we're gonna pull the Quaku.
I was in like a certain part of my house. I remember exactly where I was. It was in Provo, and I heard the voice that said, "Contact Stephen Harper," out of the blue. Like
really?
it was an audible /
like the Canadian Prime Minister
pierced my whole soul. Yeah, right. No.
Okay, because that's who I think of when I hear Stephen Harper.
And I haven't told you my story yet.
Prime Minister of Canada.
Yeah, that's not that.
Okay.
Okay. No, so keep going.
So Steve is my professor. He was one of my professors at BYU.
Okay, cool.
BYU, right? DNC, and he's a brilliant historian.
Someone you knew.
Yes.
Okay.
And I knew
he's great.
He's incredibly humble and smart, and he's just an excellent person. So when I heard that voice, and I was like, I can ask him. I'm sure he knows about all these wives and can tell me about, the problem with this. And so I reached out to him. I sent him an email, and he replied and asked me, he confirmed the facts, which is great. He was very upfront. He's like, yeah, these are the facts, and you've learned that, and that's good. And he's like, why don't you, Leo, I would encourage you to re-examine the new assumptions that you're making about Joseph based on these facts, and keeping in mind some of the things that you know about Joseph from before that you liked about him, and some of maybe the spiritual experiences that you've had testifying of Joseph, maybe on your mission or whatever. Try to hold on to those old spiritual experiences and try to not let go of those. Right. So he was kind of helping me to level set, and I call it my spiritual defibrillator. Defibrillator? How do you say that word?
Defibrillator. Yeah.
Defibrillator.
Yeah. There's an R in there that's deceiving.
Defibrillator.
Yeah.
He shocked me with just that question. Like, can you re-examine your assumptions, your new cynical assumptions you're making about Joseph? And that set me on it set me on fire. Like I prayed again. The first time after that was like a really angry prayer. I yelled in my house up at the ceiling. I was like, God, because I didn't really believe in God yet. It was like that shock. And I was like, okay, I'll give you a shot. So I yelled up in the ceiling. I was so angry, really hot white tears. It was really, really difficult but I yelled, and God heard my angry prayer, and he responded with love and light and answers on all the things that I needed to be able to reconstruct my beliefs. So,
well, okay. So then what?
So I kept studying. He encouraged me to keep studying.
Well, yeah, but what could you I guess atheism's so difficult because it's a destruction of everything. It's like when Jesus Christ predicted that there would not even be a stone upon another stone. Like he didn't say the temple's going to get ruined. You know, he didn't say like, oh, there's going to be damage to the vehicle that outweighs its worth, so you might as well trade it in. No, he literally said the temple will not have a stone upon another stone. Like it will be an absolute destruction. And so atheism, which basically destroys the very foundation of a faith building by attacking the very existence of a God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Leaves no stone upon any other stone. And so you have to start building from the very foundation itself. So how did you get over that
Some
foundation?
of my reconstruction included, studying Christian apologists like William Lane Craig and arguments for like, logical arguments for the existence of a Christian God, right?
Okay.
Stuff on the resurrection and like the ontological arguments, all these different and fine tuning arguments and things that for me were like, oh, he's pretty good. These are pretty good arguments. And I know that there's problems reconciling those with our theology that some of our philosophers have pointed out, which I understand but for me at the time, like hearing, there's some good arguments for the existence of God, logical arguments, deductive arguments. I was like, okay, that's helpful. So I went through some of those, but mostly so the reason why for a lot of people, when you deconstruct your belief system in the church, you're in the truth claims of the church, it naturally follows because our tie through the church to God is so strong. We're taught that, even in the temple, those who've been to the temple, we connect through the covenants with Christ, like directly. Like it's very, 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 very intimate, the connection with Christ, right, in the temple. So if the church is based on fraudulent claims, that puts into question my connection with Christ for a lot of us, for people that go through this. So it's very difficult. So I had to, to reestablish my confidence in the church, which has taken so much time. I'm still learning and I'm still trying to overcome some of these doubts. I've got a lot of amazing answers and I'm in a really good place now, but it wasn't always that way.
Interesting.
So does that help you to feel a little more compassion toward?
Well, I know. I feel like I don't say compassion as much as I think compassion comes naturally once you understand people on a deeper level. It feels like, okay, I understand you more on a deeper level.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, okay. So keep going,
Thank
dog.
you for sharing that with us.
Yeah. You're welcome.
So that we understand better.
So this is yours, dude. Just unjerkify us.
Okay.
Insofar as you can.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of the intro is just to say, I care about people. I want to help people find light and happiness and joy in their lives, and peace in Christ is really what I'm hoping for people. There's a lot of relief I think that comes when you stop believing in the church and in God. Like it's like I don't believe in sin anymore, and so we can talk a little bit about that too if we have time in another episode, but. Basically, when you stop believing, it's like there's kind of like this, there's like a relief, like a euphoria of like, I don't have any, eternal duty here. There's no like consequence, like an eternal, like there's no like someone's like, angels aren't silent notes taking, right? They're like, you can just live your life authentically. And there is like a relief there, but I'm also like, at this point, I'm trying to help people to find a deeper peace and purpose, try to renew that peace, which comes through Christ and reconciliation through Christ.
When you say that, and you say that you get this idea that there is no sin, can you expound on that? What you mean by like, as you like lose a faith in God and it leads to you not thinking that sin exists, what the ramifications of that look like in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, they start to explore things that they once thought were sinful, right? So you go to any former believer community, post-Mormon community, and there is this general feeling of like a rite of passage that I'm going to try my first cup of coffee, right? It's kind of like this common thing that like, oh, I just tried whiskey for the first time. I didn't really like it. And there's some celebration that happens. Like I'm trying things that I've never, tried before that aren't sinful. There's no such thing as sin anymore. And that's kind of, I think, a common thread for a lot of people. But there's this misconception in the church for active members who see that behavior where people start to explore things that they once thought were sinful, and they start to live what they call authentically. And that we interpret that as them wanting to sin, right? That they were like planning to do that. And there may be some people that do, right? We're not going to say that no one is like, I want to leave the church so I can sin. Mm-hmm. But I think most people, it ends up kind of just naturally following that I no longer believe in the truth claims of the church. And one of those is sin. So I can now try things that I thought were once sinful. So I might as well try it and see if I like it.
And you're saying that that's a relieving thing?
Yeah, it brings a lot of relief. Like, because without a belief in any eternal consequence for my actions, there's no right and wrong truly in like an eternal sense, right? Then if I try something and it feels good and it brings me happiness, then there shouldn't be anything wrong with it. So there's a relief there. There's no God keeping, record of the things that I do that aren't according to his standard. There's no moral law.
Okay, so my only real thought and pushback on that is that's a misrepresentation of what the doctrine of sin is. Like I've never been taught that there's people walking around with a scrolled parchment.
Angels
watching
above us, so silent, notes taking. God, action. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
cool.
That creeps me out too.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
Okay, fine. Like angels up in heaven or silence notes taking to it like a pioneer song of old.
So we're going to be judged according to our works, right?
Yeah. But saying be will be judged according to our works is a lot more holistic of a comment, and a pleasantly melodic reference to the fact that angels are silent notes taking in this book of life that we have. Yeah. When presented holistically with the gospel, it's not like they act like it's those gremlins in Harry Potter that run the bank. You know what I'm saying?
The goblins, yeah.
The goblins sitting there with their long little rolls going like, you want 5 more.
Which, by the way, I don't know how J.K. Rowling got away with such a blatant anti-Semitic, absolutely shocking that is in the movie.
It was early 2000s, bro. They did what they wanted. It was a different time.
So, the same way that George Lucas got away with
Watto.
The Asian trade syndicate not having noses and slanted. It was what?
Yeah, some of those movies are like,
you're like, how did that happen?
But back to this idea of sin being relieving. To me, what it sounds like is when you get this relief of the idea of sin, you're no longer responsible for a lot of these actions, right? You are now divested from this responsibility, and so you lose a weight.
An external responsibility, like you're internally responsible for your own. It's like personal authority. There's this new idea of I'm the ultimate authority, right? Mm-hmm. My own life. So it makes me feel bad. But if it's some God in the sky, that's going to judge me for this. That is a burden on us as disciples. Like it is like, if you think about it, it is like, the thought of having to be judged and like have your sins be, shown and having to, be accountable for those. That does create a burden. That's why we have to be yoked with Christ to be able to be forgiven and have those sins be removed.
I guess I've just always had that so intrinsically tied, not just to the way that God feels about the things that I do, but also like the way that my actions affect other people, that to me, removing God from that equation doesn't absolve you from the way that your actions still affect others, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Right? And I don't see how adopting a caffeine addiction and an alcohol addiction is somehow a relief. To me, that is just a burden.
I guess I see where you're coming from.
It could become a burden. It's because it's a habit, right? And people can become addicted.
It's like, I can't wait to be able to start potentially habit-forming substances. Are you kidding? If I went Exmo, if I went post-Mormon, if I just quit and said, okay, enough of this garbage, I would say I feel grateful that I was preserved from all this. Because in middle age, I've seen what 20 years of alcohol did to Steven over there. I've seen what, not being able to wake up and function until 11 a.m. without a cup of coffee does to Janet over there. And you know what? Sure, maybe the Joseph Smith thing wasn't for me, but I feel like it fortunately preserved me from a bunch of very common ailments and addictions you can get in this life. Therefore, I am grateful. I guess that's one of my frustrations. People act like I'm so guilty of a wholesome upbringing. My parents were horrible. They sent me to Boy Scouts and they told me not to drink.
Maybe I think
it's just like, what?
I think I might understand where you're coming from with this, though. You're saying sometimes don't judge people for the actions that they're taking when they've left the church. It's them seking relief. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
it's not them leaving so they can sin.
It's a relief. Like, it feels good to be able to do these things that you've wanted to try, or now that you don't have the consequence of sin, you can try things that maybe, you might like.
But you could always try. Everybody experiments. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, like, I'm not doing good sensitivity training. I'm not doing this right. Okay. But I feel like I feel like sometimes in order to be perceived as sensitive to somebody else's problems, I am forced to adopt the language of my enemies and oppressors or validate an untrue observation.
Have I validated them yet?
I don't know. Is that a trick question?
Have I just explained maybe how a lot of them feel?
Okay, you're right. And
so
perception is
explaining
reality,
how people
so
feel about something is not the same thing as validation.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Validation includes some level of agreement or supporting them, this is a valid reason to, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is how they feel. A lot of them. Okay.
But okay, one question I do have though about that is
we are failing at this, but keep going quick.
Well, no. A question I have is we talk about okay, don't judge them if they're going to start, doing this, or this, okay? And I wouldn't judge them no matter what they're doing. But do you remember Jeremy Runnels' CES letter website where he writes, a little article in All of Us?
Oh, yeah.
And what he comes after me...
Like the terrorist manifesto?
Yeah. What he comes after me for is the fact that I was in an R-rated movie, and R-rated movies are inappropriate, and then I throw inappropriate parties, and I was like... When did you become the Relief Society president?
The arbiter of truth.
Yeah, and if you're atheist and say there is no sin, well, then what's wrong with being in an R-rated movie?
Why can't I hang out with hot chicks and be in R-rated movies? Like, when did the Mormons become the playboys? And the Mormons are the no, don't say a bad word. So I'm a little confused. Like, when I get criticism from that side, it's because I don't follow enough rules and they want me to be more of a good boy. And now the Mormons are like, Quake, you do what you want. So what's going why are they now? How has the ex-Mormon radical left become the more conservative people?
Yeah, and have you ever called out Jeremy Runnels for his crazy terrorist manifestos on us?
That's fair.
It's like, a big problem I have with these sensitivity people that want to come to us and say...
It's so one-sided. It's only ever us.
It's always sensitivity. Like, are you calling out John DeLynn for doxing his own sister?
We're all under...
Are you calling out Jeremy Runnels for literally making
but now we're getting into whataboutism.
He looked like the guy in that movie with Adam Sandler when Adam Sandler calls him up and says, hey, I realized, now that I might have not been nice to you in high school. And the guy says, okay, fine. And crosses his name off the hit list.
Oh my gosh. I'm saying?
The pages that the CS Letter Foundation website made about us, aka Jeremy Runnels made about us, look like a serial killer's manifesto that's found after he's killed 10 people.
Except mine. Mine was kind of funny.
Yours was kind of funny.
I'm an Exmo sleeper agent.
By the way,
have you seen those? Have you seen those, Leo?
No, I need to dig into those.
Okay, hold on, funny. Leo. Yep. This is part of your sensitivity training, all right? But
while you're finding that, can I also just say in Provo, Orem area, all the young people, by the way, all the hardcore I'm an anti-Mormon people under 25 are the boring ones who stay home and don't do anything fun. And all the Mormons are the ones who are actually throwing concerts and parties and having a good time. So I am completely fine with the fact that ex-Mormons have bored themselves into being into literally being like the sisters from Rock of Ages. You know, they're like, keep these bad people out of our Christian town. And the Mormons are now the fun, rebellious ones, which is how it should be, by the way.
Okay, so look, here we go. Here we go, buddy. So if you go onto the website,
Okay.
and you go onto CES Letter Foundation,
I honestly haven't spent much time here.
You go on to debunkings. It's, you know, Jeremy Runnels versus Fair versus Jim Bennett versus, Tits and Kwaku right here.
That is,
so you
by the way,
click on
such
it.
a good title. Tits and Kwaku.
Yeah.
Could you make me look cooler than that? That is an awesome picture of me.
And I mean, look at this. It is page upon page. Upon page,
Oh,
upon
wow.
page, upon page.
It's
by the
really
way,
long. It's surprisingly long.
No,
Yeah.
long enough that like, and by the way, it's constantly updated.
Yeah,
It
they
keeps
added
getting
the debate.
They added the debate. Look,
Oh, there you are.
Carden's mugshot.
yeah, that was my mugshot. Pretty awesome. My only regret in life, honestly, is that I never smiled at that mugshot. I'm so pissed off.
You're in really good shape there, though. Like, these are all good pictures of us. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
look at
Well,
your
and the
chin
thing is,
line.
look, dude, I was arrested in
Your
the
jawline,
airport.
yeah.
I was arrested in the airport for having a multi-tool in my bag that had a blade on it, and I was fined $25 by the TSA. And then this guy makes me out to be freaking like a crazy criminal while Kwaku L is throwing COVID parties like a gangsta. You know what I'm saying?
Does this help your business, Quake?
And then look,
Oh,
look at this.
yeah.
If people are going to die, they're going to die. Quaker Twitter. This is
boy.
psychosis. This is an ISIS page. This is a mentally ill person. Like, and this caused all
I
kinds
didn't
of
realize how much more they've added. This is
Yeah.
hilarious.
And so I've had people come
That
up to
is a
me in
lot.
church and say, "Oh my gosh, what did you do? Are you really that racist?" Quoting Jim Bennett out of context in order to make it look like he's condemning us, even though he's a friend of our show, saying that we are death threatening him with warning extremely graphic and gruesome violence. Like, will you condemn the anti-Mormons? By the way, we haven't even gotten, if you look at the bar on the side of this, we're only 43% down on the page.
really?
Ooh.
Oh
Look,
my gosh.
it keeps going and going. So here, Leo
Yeah,
Weidiger,
yeah.
yes, we
Here's
need
my-
to be
here's my
more
opportunity
sensitive.
to
We
be,
need to be more sensitive.
to be.
But at what point do they have to be sensitive to us? Because that caused huge damage. John DeLynne's subreddit minions
yeah.
have written crap about my, I can't prove this, so it's difficult for me to make the claim, but there's some specific reviews on my company I think have been made, you know what I'm saying, by subreddit minions and so on and so forth, because they originate from Salt Lake City and so on and so forth. I know for a fact that he doxed his own sister. There were people in the stake presidency when he was excommunicated that were harassed and so on and so forth. And there is we literally call it the ex-Mormon subreddit minions that go out and cyberbully the crap out of everything from Rosebud when she makes her claims to us.
Which, by the way,
Yeah.
if you're a person who uses ex-Mormon subreddit and you do not participate in online harassment, you are not the people we're talking about.
yeah. I mean, literally claiming you called the cops on us for fear of your life, then we could prove that you were actually secretly DMing us on the side and never actually made the call according to the Salt Lake City PD.
What freaking psychopaths these people are? These
Yeah,
are
like,
the
so like, at
weirdest
what time can
loser
we
creeps.
demand sensitivity from them?
Sensitivity.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will pledge $40,000 right now. I know he's bigger than me. If I get to box
No.
What the
$40,000 to whatever 501c3 he wants, do you accept?
I am editing that out because that's just going to get clipped and
And
made
the
into
501c3 he's gonna pick is gonna be the freaking his 501c3.
You've been working out a lot, Quake.
No,
so-
I just like I've been taking all these supplements so my anger is higher.
Oh my God.
So, and I can't feel as much pain, so I can take more hits. You know what I'm saying?
And so sensitivity training is going great.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
but so like anyway, like that's what I really want to ask.
So
is,
I have.
I believe that all of us need to be nicer. And this is what bothered me in the debate because Sean McCraney said the same thing. And we always have these good peacemaker people because in the Mormon church, we believe, especially the boomers, that blessed are the peacemakers. Okay. And then whenever there's smoke, they believe there must be a fighter. And they always have this two-sideism thing that when they show up, and two people are saying, he punched me and he punched me. They always say, oh no, can you guys just get along? And no, I'm sorry. At some point, somebody's lying and there has to be a decision made. There has to be evidence. There has to be proof. How are we not entitled to the same sensitivity demands as them? How can they? Why can they lie about us?
By the way, I consider myself a peacemaker.
Oh my gosh! What Old Testament style prophet are you, Kwaku?
I don't know.
My training has not gone well, obviously.
Yeah.
Guys.
No, but so that's my question. Like, I want to actually get somewhere with this because this is a serious question.
So
you didn't know about this.
So I flew. Well, no.
So you didn't know about this.
I didn't know about that. No.
Okay, but what's your impression of this? An entire website dedicated to page upon page of smearing every good person who's tried to engage in apologetics against the CS letter. You got Brian Hales there.
Which, by the way,
he is wholly decent in every way.
And
you
this
got
is
Jim
ironic
Bennett.
because they sit there and say, we're the ones doing ad hominem attacks. And then they have this long of a page saying, well, Cardinal Ellis was once a person who had a knife on him at an airplane.
That right there is Scott Gordon and John Lynch. Two guys who have dedicated their lives to trying to engage in apologetic arguments in the best, most humane, ethical, and academic way possible. And now they have an entire page dedicated to it. You're practically going to be on here.
How do you look at this and think, oh yeah, this is a guy who just had some questions who sent an email? No, this is a calculated psychopathic bully who wants to destroy families like his friend John DeLynn does. And you know what? We'll call it out. I know that you guys are the nice ones, but look, do you think Cardin Ellis wanted to do this? We are the last resort. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like, when we have to come in, that means
some
it's
random
so bad.
comedians. Like,
yes.
You know what I mean? It's when it's so bad, it's like, all right.
So what do you think? Like Leo, I want to know. What do you think?
So I see this as like, I know you guys don't like to be called out like this. And I know I've been called out before, but not like, this is just a lot, obviously. Wow. But I see this as like as a conversation. I really do. This whole thing.
So would I be morally justified in calling the cops and saying, I think this person is unhinged and means violence upon me?
He hasn't asked for violence upon you.
We had to show up with plate carriers.
But that wasn't from
Do I have to bust out the audio of the psychopaths?
But that wasn't Jeremy, right?
Oh,
Did he call for violence?
He did. He filed an FBI report.
If you want to say that a beatdown meme,
No,
if you want to say a beatdown meme is a call for violence, if you want to say internet memeing is a call for violence, how is that not a call to violence? How is this?
This is a manifesto of the Unabomber. I mean, this is
so
what
yeah.
like.
I mean, this could be seen.
They literally are portraying us as Nazis multiple times.
But he wouldn't be held responsible for violence in like a court of law for this.
Well, we wouldn't be for the meme either, but he acted like we were. He fundraised off of that 911 call.
But that's somebody else. I'm just saying in this case, he's got a long list of criticisms, right? And this is, I think, an ongoing conversation. I see this as more of like a conversation.
Okay, well but
and it may be driving traffic to your stuff.
Oh yeah, that's fine. And I'm not, look, I'm a big boy, dude. I'm a radio host
right.
in Los Angeles. All right. The second I get on and do the morning show at my station, all right, I broadcast more people in 5 minutes than these people do in 5 years.
So the idea of what is your reward, right? That's what I keep.
No. What's your response to this? Like, as the sensitivity trainer, what would you say to these guys, knowing now that they've done this to us?
Okay, so I need to call Jeremy, right? Because I talk to everybody I can, right?
Keep it on this frame, by the way. Notice Quickie was dropping the F-bomb. Shut up. Shut up.
And by the way, he wasn't.
Grader.
He said something else and we censored a completely benign word, which was
words.
funny to make it look like he swore when he didn't. We would censor common and banal words throughout the entire production just to make it look edgier than it wasn't, but you could see and read the lips that we weren't actually saying it. So that was part of the humor.
Sorry.
So, well, no, but I'm curious. So what would you say? What would you say now, Mr. Sensitivity Training Guy, which I think is a noble effort. Okay.
So I ask questions.
What would you say to this?
I ask questions. That's primarily where I go. I ask questions to learn. I think that's the greatest source of truth for me, is to keep asking questions and to be open to those answers and to consider the answers. So one of the greatest questions that I ask is it working for you? Right. And so when I've interacted with people like Jeremy, I don't know Jeremy personally, I'd be happy to talk to Jeremy. What has worked for me in the past to change hearts and open minds. And for me personally, it's to listen to them, to try to hear where they're coming from. If they're experiencing painful emotions, things that are causing them to lash out, to blame, whatever it is, I try to hear those people out, and then and then if they're open to my suggestions, I'll suggest maybe a better way of handling things. So if this in your case, I would contact Jeremy, be like, hey, a lot of this stuff I don't feel like is very good representation of, after you've had a chance to listen to where he's coming from, and see if you can't maybe encourage him to maybe take a different approach if it's really bothering you, right? If you don't mind it, and this is just kind of a part of the conversation.
Leo, part of the question that I have for you is like,
yeah,
how do you approach it when somebody is clearly not acting in good faith? Like
I've had people do that online and it's really painful, right? I don't like to
dig up a mugshot of somebody and then decide like
that's not a conversation.
Attacks. Like
that's cruelty.
He's clearly trying to discredit Cardin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, what do you do when that is the level of what's happening, right? This isn't just like a mild conversation anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah, I ask, is it working for me too? How do I respond, right? So if I were to say I condemn that, it's wrong, if I say that, which I do believe, I feel like that's wrong, right? But if I were to say that's where I lead with, like that you're acting in bad faith, this is causing harm, those kind of things, I'm no better than the people that are doing it.
Okay, because this is, and I'm thank you for saying that, and the only thing I want to say is Sean McCraney gets up and he says, well, can't we all get along, and wants to have this two-sidesism. And guys like you who are wholly decent in every way see where these conversations degenerate into, and they want to be bridge builders. They want to be peacemakers. And the knee-jerk reaction is to say like, oh, no, both sides need to get like, no, like at what point can you just recognize
that's just wrong?
That one side is not operating in good faith while the other side is at least trying to be humorous about this, okay? And at what point do we get like, at what point are they required sensitivity training?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like at what point do...
So we've talked about this too, right? The punching up versus punching down.
Yeah.
So people that leave the church, they see the church as this huge oppressive institution that's manipulating, that's controlling.
And gave them a good wholesome upbringing. Oh, poor guys. And paid for all their Boy Scouts and their tuition to BYU.
And that they lost, 30 whatever plus years of tithing to this institution to pay for manuals and things that they don't believe are worth any value other than the paper that is printed on. So you have all these people that believe that all of their time, their resources, their money, all their energy was basically wasted.
But that's
why
a narrative
do they believe that?
But that's the narrative created by these guys.
What?
That's a narrative created.
Why do they end up believing that?
Because they lose faith and belief in the truth claims.
Primarily from people who are telling them that the church lied to them all the time, right? So like for you, it was evangelicals who lied to you that the church was lying to you. Because I don't believe that the church was lying to you your whole time, right?
No, I don't think that now. I thought at the time that they had withheld this information from me because I didn't know about.
But you've now come to a knowledge beyond.
Now I have a more charitable outlook, and I have.
Well, also hold on a second. You were disabused of a false narrative.
Yeah.
Because here's the fact, Leo. Growing up in the church, there was an 8-volume set of history of the church inside the library that you could have checked out any day of the week that you ever wanted.
Rough Stone Rolling was available.
Rough Stone Rolling was
exactly.
available.
It's all there.
There was ad nauseum academic and free and accessible information about Joseph Smith and his polygamy and the origins of the church that you simply didn't read. And I'm not going to call you a lazy learner.
I call myself that.
Okay, fine.
I take responsibility for that.
Well, let me go full circle here. Circle here, okay? Whether you like it or not, you had access to academic and free information and all the information about the origin of the church, Joseph Smith, polygamy. It was all available, but you didn't read it. And I'm not going to call you a lazy learner or anything like that, okay? But I will say what took you off guard was information you had access to. And once you got the information, it was presented in a cynical light by people who hate us in a fashion that wasn't consistent with the reality of the situation.
And it was designed to knock you off balance.
Yeah. And what got you back was disabusing you of a bad narrative. So I'm in a position now where I feel like more testimonies will be saved, more families will be preserved, more people will be brought back into the church, not through your sensitivity, because sensitivity and not fighting the charlatans who are lying about us is what has got us to this situation. What people need is to be disabused of false narratives perpetuated by people that would hate us.
Yeah.
And those same people interested in sensitivity now need to go online and look at what all of the anti-Mormons are saying about us and see their psychotic, toxic, hateful, obsessive, I would say, insinuating violence consistently with terms like burn it the F down with truth, whenever referencing the church, as we watch a 15% increase in arson in chapels. Like, at some point, somebody needs to start playing intellectually honest, consistent arbiter here, okay? And we need to disabuse ourselves of false narratives made by people that hate us and then require the same sensitivity that they're requiring of us from them. That doesn't include what we're doing here. Either we take the sensitivity training to them.
That's what I was going to say is that the tables have turned here. When I first heard about punching up versus punching down, it was in a Facebook group. That's where I spent a lot of my time.
Yeah.
And it was a former member of the church who was like, I'm free to punch up because you're the church. I can basically abuse you.
Yeah.
Is what this person was saying.
It's the excuse they use. Yeah.
No, and I believe in punching up. Oh no, I believe it's okay for the channel with 3,000
And so that's probably what Jeremy feels like. He was abused by the church, right? You represent the church.
So the guy with literally hundreds of thousands of dollars and hundreds of thousands of followers with access to entire subreddit.
And that's a judgment call we have to make as people that consume
has
this material,
the right to punch down onto
he has a right
poor
to,
little Brad here.
Yeah,
they
the
YouTube channel with 3,000 followers.
They see this as punching up.
How about that we punch in a ring, which is why I have challenged him to the boxing match.
That would be a weird boxing match,
but that's the thing here. Like, Leo, we need to not allow for this stupid redefining of who's punching up and punching down so that they can say, well, because of a power structure, I can now be a jerk to you.
And now anybody associated with the church.
I think with the punching is now pretty equal, to be honest, because I've been on both sides. I've been at this for years. I put thousands of hours into my research, into my work, and we're losing a lot of the best and brightest, right? Are leaving this church. And it's just a fact. There's a lot of people that I've cared about that have left. And I feel like now I kind of need to be able to punch up a little bit. Like I do. I feel like it's more equal now, right? I'm not punching down as this enormously powerful institution. I don't think we're going to.
To me, I'm sorry. That's adopting once again the language of our oppressors and internalizing a false narrative and a lie. My entire life, believing Christians have been the underdog of a secular world that hates them. I've never felt in a position.
We're underdogs.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, we are. I've always been. Maybe it's just because I grew up in LA.
We get told that we have a persecution complex.
Yeah,
when Mormons represent what percentage of the population?
I think it's more
I've
equal.
scrubbed graffiti off members of my ward's house because of sincerely held beliefs that were put there by the same people that claim during Prop 8. You want to come at me about LGBTQ rights? I've seen what happens when the leaders of these movements don't like you and know what your address is. Members of my ward and my stake's lives have been ruined. Finances have been destroyed. Livelihoods have been taken away because of these people. And so when you want to come at me and say, I'm not sensitive enough, have you ever scrubbed the graffiti of somebody else's house because an LGBTQ activist decided to terrorize them for a week during Prop 8, making them think that everybody on their block hated them, not knowing who it was, keying cars? Yeah, and then my children have to be able to log in online and see this hateful psycho crap about their father, and somehow Midnight Mormons need sensitivity training? Leo, you're knucking futs, bro. Like, I'm sorry.
Well,
but
this blew up. This is good TV. I actually came here to just explain why I'm a peacemaker, and actually consciously said I would not talk about you guys, but it makes for good
but
TV,
there's the
right?
insinuation.
It was our fault of being like, sensitivity train us.
Yeah.
Stop doing it.
You guys invited me to talk about that.
Don't worry,
I was
don't
not
worry.
planning to go there. I was planning to just say, this has worked for me. What works for you, right? And this has worked for me and I minister to a lot of people. I'm not an apologist. I'm a minister. And I've had some amazing experiences with people that are kind of on the edge, not sure which way to turn. They're still figuring it out. They're still in questioning and in that stage. And I've helped a lot of mixed faith marriages over the years. I've talked to a lot of people, and it's been a very rewarding experience for me. And it's not the only way to do it, though. I know that you guys are reaching people too. So,
well, no, here, let's finish our sensitivity
yes.
training though.
My
Let's finish
sensitivity
it.
training is this. This is what I've learned so far. There's a lot of different ways of defending the faith, and you've got the Leos, who are the kindest of them, and then you have the intellectuals, and then you have Desnats, and then you have normal people
Like all two
the
of them?
Midnight Mormons.
but who
Okay.
loves Desnats though? That like
No, I'm
actually
saying there's
needs them?
many different ways
Yeah.
of doing it.
Yeah.
But the issue is when you run out of Leos and you run out of normal people, you get the extremist left. And I don't mean the extremist left leaning. I mean, those are the ones literally left.
The left, yeah.
And they're the ones remaining. And you know what? Every time that's happened in history, it's been bad. So if this turns into we're allowed to burn down Mormon chapels,
Right.
and the only people that are going to stand up are going to be the guy with the Porter Rockwell patch from Santa Quinn. Do you really want that smoke? Okay, because the second I go crazy, and if everything is destroyed, you're going to hear me screaming, running into Sunstone.
gosh.
All right, and you know
I knew that was going bad. Like, quit making me edit this crap out,
this is
dude.
hilarious. It's so funny.
It's
Good TV.
it won't. No, it's YouTube won't even let me put that on there, dog. Oh gosh. Okay, so anyway,
You're surprised? They
so
Andrew
No,
Schultz gets away with saying a lot.
yeah, that's true.
fair.
But so here's the deal. So
So
Leo,
I'll
I look inwards first, and I accept personal responsibility for my half of the equation, and I want to work on that as a follower of Christ.
Yeah.
So
and
let's
I think
finish.
that everything that you're saying applies a lot more to just your average person who's left the church, right?
Yeah.
Than it does to like necessarily. We keep on pulling it back to people like Jeremy Reynolds and John DeLynn, but I think that it applies a lot more to people who are not diametrically opposed to us, but people who have different. They disagree with us, right?
Mhm,
And they may have different assumptions, and they've gotten there. It's more of a conversation,
But
less
if it's
of a flame
if it's
war.
a difference of agreement, if it's a difference of interpretation over something that has multiple interpretations, then I'm fine with it, because some people will take a cynical interpretation, some people will take a little bit more positive interpretation. I usually give the benefit of the doubt, other people don't. Okay, but then there's also sometimes where people are just lied to.
100%.
Point blank, they're just lied to. And what I find is that all these people leaving the church now, it's based off of just lies told about our history. What's crazy is I think there's enough wild stuff in church history they never talk about because it's not in their canon of their religion, you know, like that bring up interesting conversations. But no, I have to keep listening to how, Joseph Smith plagiarized the locations of the Book of Mormon based upon cities in his hometown. And then when you look him up, they didn't exist until 100 years after he died. Like just garbage claims like this that
Vernon
have
Holly maps, yeah.
that have
exactly.
a veneer of academia,
That
but are
literally-
wholesale false.
They get left in because it shook someone's testimony. Like they know it's false, but kept it there. Like that's
Right.
so wrong.
There's definitely some bad behavior on that side, and I don't spend a lot of time there. It's just me personally. Instead I call people, I try to reason with them, I try to listen to them, I try to invite them to reconsider, to try an alternative way, to be open to new ideas. So John DeLynn, one of his podcasts, he talks about the fourth way. It's during his street epistemology stuff, with Sean.
A fourth way.
The fourth way, he says.
Oh, the third way was hard enough. Now we got the fourth.
Because Sean's gone through all these different stages of his belief system and faith journey. So, basically John was suggesting, hey, have you tried secularism, right? Without any belief and still being a good person. He was trying to reason with Sean, try the fourth way. And so that's kind of what John, I think that's no, I don't want to agree with secularism. I think that I'm not saying that. I'm saying in the case of people that feel like they've been abused by the church and have, now see have a very, very cynical view of the church, I would just invite them to maybe consider a fourth way. Is there another way you can look at this information? And that's what Steve Harper did for me.
I ain't having a 4-way. I don't know what you guys are talking about. It ain't gonna happen.
I swear, Quaco.
Cardin, you have not. Cardin has said the most shocking things I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, around a lunch table. All right, you know what I'm saying?
But yeah, I can see that. I just feel like the long-lasting ramifications of that is something that is difficult. And maybe you're just looking at it with a longer timeline, where you're saying,
I want to see
people where they're
I want
at
to see
right
John
now.
come back to the church and to renew his covenants
Me
with
too.
Christ.
I think it would be great.
I would love to see Jeremy, and I invite both of them right here. Guys, there's ways to see this information differently, and I'll come and talk to you about it, John, on your podcast. I looked at all the same facts that you have, and I see things differently in a more charitable light. And I've received revelation and visions and amazing stuff that has brought me back to the church. And so, that's my invitation, is to try the fourth way. There's another way to do this, an alternative to the current path that you're on.
That fourth way being
that provides peace in Christ.
And that fourth way is?
It's belief and a more charitable view of our history and of our current leaders. And it's a fourth way of allowing for spiritual knowledge, not just the five senses. In our personal epistemic framework, I've got different voices I allow at my round table of voices that influence me in my life. Good science, good research, trusted friends and family. And I also allow for spiritual knowledge, the Holy Ghost, God's voice to speak to me. And once I was open to that again, because I wasn't for a while, God started speaking to me. Straight up, I had actual visions that have totally resolved my concerns about plural marriage, for example. And I can tell people about those anytime. But I was open to it. And that's why God spoke to me and healed my heart, my broken heart.
Okay, cool. So is our sensitivity training over so we can go to another podcast about your whole cool story and faith journey and all that other stuff?
Yeah.
Or is there, no, you're just saying it's over because you want to get it done with, right?
Yeah, this is good. This has been good. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. And I'll give you all a gold star for trying.
It's ironic you say that, because Jeremy Runnels wants to put all of us in gold stars and camps for being LDS.
Oh my
gosh.
This video is going to take you 2 weeks to edit.
These are evil people we're talking about. They're evil.
All right, cool. Catch you later. This is
Okay.
Midnight Mormon. See you in the next podcast.